Hey there, welcome to day 84 of our BU 365-day challenge. Do one thing every day that improves us in some way. We're focusing on our mental well-being the month of March, or for this segment of the challenge. We're breaking our life down into the life framework that I use to plan and schedule and set my goals and objectives and just kind of check in with the different areas and aspects of my life. Because like most of us, I wasn't always very good at paying attention to all the areas and aspects of my life. Usually one or the other would take priority. Now, I'm not a believer in balance. I think there's different times that we pay more attention or less attention to various areas and aspects of our life. And that balance is, maybe that's that euphoric fantasy thing that I just don't personally believe is something that we achieve. Or maybe it's something that just isn't a goal of mine to be balanced in all areas and aspects of my life. Do I want to continually improve in all the different aspects of my life and the areas of my life? Yes. But do I think that there will ever be complete and total balance between all of them? I don't think so, because I think different times of my life have required more emphasis on different aspects of my life. When my kids were young, I think that I needed to spend a lot more time and energy on focusing on my family and on those relationships and making sure that my kids were safe and fed and cared for and loved than I did on, different areas and aspects of my life. Maybe on my spirituality, or I definitely let go of my health back then. So, and was that the right thing to do? Well, I don't know. My kids are awesome and I survived barely, but it's worked out. Each of us have our own journey on our own path to follow, and we have to kind of figure it out for ourselves. Our topic for today is mindfulness. And as I was thinking about this topic and researching this topic, I realized that I, like so many other people, am not particularly mindful. And I think that I try to be mindful. So that made me feel a little disappointed in myself, in that, like so many other people, I spend the vast majority of my time and my life on absolute autopilot, just going through the motions of my life without actually being present. I don't remember the last time I cooked a meal or prepared something to eat for myself and I was actually present and aware and paying attention to what I was doing. I just do it automatically. If you ever driven somewhere and all of a sudden you maybe remember getting in the car, starting the car, but then you've reached your destination and you don't have any conscious recollection that you actually drove there. I used to do that when I drove to work all the time. I'd leave the house, I'd get to work, and I'd be like, what happened in between? And I didn't get in an accident, so I obviously successfully drove to my destination, but I wasn't consciously doing it. I was doing it on autopilot. And so much of our lives, mine included, is spent in this autopilot, automatic remote mode. Well, mindfulness is our human ability to be aware of what we're doing, to be aware of what we're experiencing as we're experiencing it. And actually, some of our best memories and some of our biggest traumas are when we are actually in present moment. We're having presence of mind. We're actually there, and we're not only experiencing the experience, but we're consciously aware of our experiencing the experience. And when you want to purposefully put things into your subconscious and save things and remember things, it helps if we be mindful, because we are remembering and consciously choosing when and where we put things in our memory, if that makes sense. So I had this awareness today that I'm not very aware of, or I'm not very present. And I remember reading Eckhart Tolle's book, I think it's something about now. And the whole book's about being present and being in the moment. And really the only time we have is the present moment. The only time we can actually affect our life and take action is right now. We can learn from the past. We can relive the past if we so choose. We can plan for the future, but it's not guaranteed for any one of us. The saying, we could get hit by a bus tomorrow. We could get hit by a bus today. Not even if you're by buses. Strange things happen. And I'm of the mind these days that when it's our time, it's our time. We all have an expiration date. None of us know when that is. But when we're done here with this life experience, that's all we get. And since that's unknown, it's even more important that we are more intentional and more mindful in our life. So what are some ways that we can become more mindful. Let me take a peek at my notes and see what I wrote down. There's 3 steps to becoming more mindful, according to the internet, of course. Step 1, step out of autopilot. Purposefully choose to be present, to pay attention. Some of my favorite memories are, and that I'm creating now, are when I'm with my granddaughters and I just ignore everything else. I turn off everything else. I turn off my mind on all the other things, and I'm just present in the moment with them when they're playing and learning and growing, and when we're reading stories or when we're snuggling. And those are some of my favorite moments. So be present by turning off autopilot. Be aware of your breath. One of the best ways to, and I learned this with meditation, one of the best ways to be present is to quiet your mind by focusing on our breath, paying attention to our breath. And then step 3 is to expand our awareness outward. So we first start concentrating on our breath, and then we start paying attention, tapping into, how am I feeling in my body? What are the sensations around me? And expanding that to being in the present moment. So 7 principles of mindfulness. Now, when you research something like this nowadays with the internet, you'll get 3 and then 5 and then 7 and then 9 and then 12. Well, I quit at 7 and then I found 2 more and added those because I actually like and agree with those. So I went to 9. But what are some principles of mindfulness? Number 1, we're non-judgmental. We're not judging ourselves, especially in the present moment. We're just experiencing it. We're actually fully engaged in what we're participating in. If you go to a party and you just stand back and watch the events going on, you have a very different experience than when you jump in and are participating with other people in the party or in the environment. Number 2, patience. We're patient with ourselves and with other people, and we're just going with the flow of what is actually happening. We're not expecting anything to be different than it is. We're not wanting to hurry things along. We're not wanting to slow things down. We're just experiencing it and being patient with it as it's happening. We have the beginner's mind. Whenever we start something new, we're open and we're curious and we're asking a lot of questions. So as we are trying to be more mindful, we want to have a beginner's mind. Well, what's going on here? And ask a lot of questions, and we want to be open to the possibilities. Number 4, we want to trust ourselves and our feelings. We want to trust that what we're feeling is true for us and important for us. Number 5, we want to be non-striving. Now, for some of us, type A personalities, to be non-striving, to just chill and stop and breathe for a moment, is a Herculean event. But we need to do that. We need to stop striving for trying to figure something out, or trying to solve a problem, or trying to do something, or trying to achieve something, and just be in the present moment. We need to be accepting of what is. Again, for some of us, accepting what currently is can be a challenge. If it's not exactly like we want it to be, we get a little frustrated. We need to let go. We need to be willing to let go and suspend our judgment and let go of our expectations for the event or our outcomes for the experience that we're having. And then the 2 that I like that I found in a different list were gratitude. If we are grateful for everything that we're experiencing as we're experiencing it, it's easier to stay present and be involved and engaged in the experience. And then generosity, a spirit of generosity, principle of generosity, meaning we're here to give as much as receive in the experience, if that makes sense. So again, I was thinking about, these are the questions that popped into my mind this morning thinking about mindfulness. Are you living and experiencing your life, or are you just biding your time? And if I think about my life, if I were to go back and do a quick timeline review, I have spent the vast majority of my life just biding my time, just getting through the experience of living. I'm like, what a waste of time and energy and things that I could have been doing. And I'm not going to think of that in a negative way, but a way to say, okay, going forward, I don't want to just be biding my time or watching the clock tick by. I want to be actually engaged in living my life. And then my next question, which was a real zinger for myself personally, was, am I setting the example? Am I being an example of what I want to show up as and how I want to be in the world? And I got a resounding no, which was a big slap in the face. So it's, again, a reminder to, okay, well, that's not how you want to present yourself and how you want to be in your life. So it's time to make some changes. So our action item today is to think about mindfulness. Think about how present you are, how engaged you are in the current activities and moments of your life. We're going to pick 3 random times today, and I picked 11:11 this morning because I actually have an alarm set. Otherwise, I might forget to do this because I'm not always present of mind. And then I picked 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. just randomly. Okay, at 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. I will check in and see how present I am being in the activity that I'm doing at that time. I don't know what's on my schedule today, so I don't know what's on at 3 or what's on at 9. I do know at 11:11 I always have an alarm go off, so no matter what I'm doing, it can be a trigger for me to stop, take a deep breath, and then be present in whatever I'm doing. Now, when I'm working with other people or if I'm in a conversation, I try to be present, right? I try to be mindful of that conversation and what's going on with that. That's how we engage with people, is by actually paying attention to them. But I'm guilty of that sometimes too with my family and friends. Sometimes my brain's going in another direction when we're having a conversation, and that's kind of rude, right? It's totally rude because, you know, when I choose to spend time with people, I want to be with those people. All right. So our action item 3 times, and then just share in the comments below. Number 1, did you remember to do it? Because if I were doing this for the first time, chances are I would go through my day on autopilot again and totally forget to do it. Number 2, if you did you notice anything different? Did you have any aha moments like I did before I even started this exercise today, realizing, hey, I am not particularly mindful. And I like to think that I've done a lot of intellectual work, a lot of work on myself and personal development, yet here I am almost always on autopilot too. So how can I be more mindful? Maybe that's my question today for myself. How can I be more mindful throughout my daily activities? That's a pretty good question. All right, that is our topic for today. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, excited to hear how this goes for you, excited to experience and see how it goes for me, and see if I can actually be mindful 3 times today. And then if that makes me feel good, I'm going to do it more and more and more, and just really find a couple of cool ways to check in and pull myself into the present moment more often. Maybe I have to go back and reread Eckhart Tolle. All right, have an awesome day. I'll be with you tomorrow.